Hello there fellow humans and welcome to this video, and today I want to talk to you about my top 5 worst premium tanks in World of Tanks Blitz, and we're going to start off with the Panther 88. And the reason why this tank is on this list is quite simple. It is a medium tank, a premium medium tank, and essentially Wargaming hates medium tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. So, except if your name is Chimera or T-22 medium, essentially, then this tank is not worth buying at all, because the Panther 2 is better for all intents and purposes, which is a non-premium tank. And this tank, what it actually has a quite decent gun for tier 8 medium tanks, which means that it is actually able to penetrate tier 7 heavy tanks at 203mm of penetration. It also has 2.4k DPM, which is not that bad. So the gun it has is quite decent. The problem though, this thing has no armor, and I mean none. It has armor that is capable of deflecting HE, but that's about it. Every AP shell is going to penetrate. Every peek you make, the shot, if the enemy is capable of aiming, is going to go through. So, yeah, why would you play this tank if the Chimera exists? Essentially, why would you play any tier 8 medium premium if the Chimera exists? Because that tank has pretty much everything. It has good armor, it has good mobility, it has a good gun, it even has alpha damage to fight heavy tanks, and it has gun depression as well. Like, the problem that most medium tanks suffer from is they're just worse than heavy tanks. They're not different than heavy tanks, they're just worse than heavy tanks. Mainly because Wargaming has buffed a lot of the low tier mediums, and they have nerfed tier 10 mediums by giving them worse penetration, essentially making them either you have less pen or you have the same DPM with less damage. So yeah, that's not quite good. And mediums are very important for the game, you know, because they sort of dictate the pace. But in this state, you know, they're just worse than heavies. But anyway, the Panther 88 is on its own quite a decent tank. On its own, this team is not very decent though, because they're all dead. So I'm gonna try to get out of here while they still focus on the other guy. And yeah, he could have shot HE there, but let's try to get around, and I'm gone. Okay. I'm probably gonna die here because this tank's mobility is not very good. So yeah, you can pretty much see the problems that this tank has. It's not very fast, it doesn't have any armor. It's just not a very all-round good tank. But it has a nice gun, something that the STG can't say of itself, which is number 2 on this list. A tank which has no armor, no damage per minute, no penetration, no accuracy, no gun depression, and average mobility is obviously going to be on this list, because this thing sucks in every aspect. Even in the price, it was, the last time it was sold was 12,000 gold, so that's what Wargaming thinks it's worth. For that money, you can get yourself 2 decent heavy tanks. Well, one great one, one meh one, but yeah, come on people. Never buy the STG. This thing is a turd of a tank. Then, number 3, we're going to move on. We're going to take the M60. And the reason why this tank is on the list is quite simple. It's not actually a premium tank, essentially. It is labeled as a premium, but it doesn't make premium credits, which, you know, you kind of want to have when you have a premium tank. So that's why it's on this list for top 5 worst premium, because why would you spend money on something that's not going to give you anything? It's a different pattern. That doesn't make credits either, so you're essentially buying the M48 pattern again. Also, what you have with the pattern and this thing, they're actually quite bad if you compare it to the good mediums of tier 10, like an E50M or an STB one, not STA one, that's a piece of shit. Because what this tank has, it's very thick, which is nice, but it has very bad armor. The turret can be penned by pretty much everyone in the cheeks, which is something that is very, very hard to do on an STB1. The STB1 is more mobile, and it is a lot more versatile as well. So, yeah. And why would you get a medium tank that's the same as something that already exists, and then is worse than the good tanks of that tier? Okay, now I'm kind of playing a risky spot here, because obviously if they do push me, I'll have to get out, which is something that I'm going to do now. Because against heavy tanks, I have no chance, because, you know, medium tanks are shit, essentially. Oh, that hurt. And the STB just took it a bit too much there. And now I'm gonna have to get out of here. So, yeah, Vickers... The Vickers is, I think, a better medium tank than the M40A Patton is, to be honest. Which says a lot about this tank. Which does say a lot about this tank. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to back out of here because IS-4 has gone on a city round trip, which made him essentially useless. But, yeah, I'm gonna have to try to work it from the side and not get shot by the Foch in the process. Try a shot there. Okay, like, on its own, it's a decent tank, I'd say. But, obviously, if you compare that you have to actually spend real money on it, that it doesn't make you any credits, and that it's just worse than a lot of the other T10 medium tanks, this tank definitely deserves a spot on this list. Simply because it's just meh all the way around. Now, and the Vickers is actually a better tank, but anyway. Which is weird. So yeah, 2.7k, that's a decent game, I'd say. By the way, these tanks are in no really particular order because they all suck. And if you agree with the list, then don't forget to hit that like button. And if you disagree, then okay. Post your opinion in the comments, but be respectful as always. Number 4 is the Glacier. You remember when I said heavy tanks are better than the medium tanks? Well, not all of them, certainly. This also goes for the 111, by the way. Now, but I mean, I think even the 111 is just as bad. This tank, why is on this list? Well, it has a bad gun, it has bad mobility, and the armor isn't very great either. So, you know what? I'm not even gonna play it. Fuck that. So yeah, not worth it. Don't buy it. Even it's in the shop for these tokens or whatever the hell it is, like here. It's a waste of 15,000 things that you worked hard for, essentially. So yeah, don't do that. There is way better heavy tanks out there. This is bad, and I use this tank as a representation of the other bad heavy tanks. Like there's plenty of them, you know. There's the 111. There's the IS-2SH. There's the IS-5, even though that's very, very affordable and very good for its price. Yeah, there's plenty of them. I mean, there's the VK as well, but, you know. So that's number 4 on this list. Goes to all the 111s and 112s out there that just are very bad compared to the good tanks. And then we're gonna go one tier lower for number 5, and that is a weird thing, and that is the MX-1357. This tank is on the list also for a reason, and it is that it is not the Smasher. It is a tier 7, and it isn't the Smasher, or the Annihilator for that fact. Any tier 7 medium, any tier 7 premium that isn't the Smasher and isn't the Annihilator is useless. You know, why would you drive around in a Fiat whatever when you can get a Bugatti? That's how essentially all the tier 7 premium tanks stack up compared to the Annihilator and the Smasher. So I just picked one of them, which is pretty bad. It has no alpha damage, it has no armor, it has somewhat decent mobility, even though it's not that great for a light tank. You know, the LTTB is faster, and the LTTB also has more armor, so you know that's pretty much the only good tier 7 light tank there, together with the Type 62 as well, which are quite decent. But then again, the Smasher and the Annihilator exist, so they're pointless and they're bad compared to those two. If you have a Smasher, if you have an Annihilator, there is no reason why you should ever want any other tier 7 premium tank in this game, unless you're very, very hating yourself and you kind of just want some self-torture. Because obviously you're gonna get blown up, and in this tank more than in others, and obviously the SP1C, but that's not a premium. So what makes this tank worthy of being representative of all the bad tier 7 premium tanks? Well, it's quite simple. It has no alpha damage. It's an autoloader though, which is nice, but the time you have to peek, together with it being a light tank, is just abysmal, and it allows any enemy to just instantly take you out. And you have to peek an insane amount of times to make this tank work. Obviously, you have, what is it, 80 or 90 alpha damage. You can't do anything really, as you can see right there. Gets the WoTB. I have to essentially use 2 clips, which is going to leave me exposed for 15 seconds essentially, in which time he can get 3 shots, which is almost the same amount of damage than I do. So you can see why it's bad, people. Also, good old factor of penetration, which is something that a lot of Tier 7 premiums don't have, unless your name is Smasher with a heat. So yeah, that's why this tank is on the list, because it's just overall not very interesting, not very good, and it's not the Smasher or the Annihilator. Okay, I don't know how that happened. Okay, anyway. Oh, hello, T26. Yeah, I should have been dead there, but you know, I'm not, because I'm lucky sometimes. Okay, just try and clip this guy. Now here's another problem, you know, you just have to wait so long till you're actually able to kill something. Which, you know, why would you do that? Especially if you're in a Tier 8 game. If you're doing a Tier 6 game, I mean, the KB2 exists, but it's still gonna be quite painful because everything has more alpha damage than you, and you're gonna just drown in pain. And I'm gonna finish him off. Wow, that happened. Okay, 2k damage, that's okay, I guess, for this tank. And, yeah. That's the thing. If you want to know what premium tanks are actually good, and there's not too many of them, considering there's over 100 premiums in the game, there's not too many that are actually really good, then check out my other video, and hope you enjoyed it. I didn't, because these tanks are... yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you next one. Goodbye.